The European Space Agency has announced that a special space probe will be sent to the asteroid Apophis. This asteroid has been a source of concern for astronomers for several years, as well as for anyone who cares about the safety of Earth. Let me remind you that a few years ago, Apophis was identified among a large number of so-called near-Earth and potentially hazardous asteroids. However, the term potentially hazardous doesn't mean that something will hit Earth tomorrow. It simply means that in the distant future, there is a possibility. The orbits of Apophis and Earth could intersect at a time when our planet is at that point, and, possibly, something could collide with us. First of all, it's a massive celestial rock, roughly 380 meters in size. On April 13, 2029, this very rock will pass incredibly close to our planet, no farther than the artificial satellites in geostationary orbit, which are about 32,000 kilometers from Earth's surface. This event is reliably calculated, and it does not pose any threat, at least to those of us living on Earth. However, the situation becomes more complicated because on April 13, 2036, Apophis will return and pass by Earth again. At this point, however, the forecast becomes uncertain. In 2029, as Apophis flies past Earth, the planet's gravity will slightly alter its trajectory, changing its orbit. But exactly where and when it will pass in 2036 remains uncertain. Current measurements from Earth's surface using optical telescopes don't provide precise coordinates of the asteroid. The Earth's atmosphere distorts the images, so we cannot yet determine its exact distance or speed. That's why in 2029, after accurately measuring how Apophis will pass, its speed, distance, and trajectory, only then will we be able to predict whether it will return to Earth in 2036 as an accidental passerby or as a dangerous object that could cause a catastrophic event. Therefore, they are already taking action, and one spacecraft is on its way to Apophis. This spacecraft was launched by NASA a few years ago to study the asteroid Bennu. After completing its mission and delivering samples from Bennu to Earth, the spacecraft continued its journey and is now set to meet Apophis in a few years. This will happen shortly after Apophis's flyby of Earth in 2029. However, researchers want to begin detailed studies of the asteroid before that flyby. For this purpose, the European Space Agency is preparing a new mission. The spacecraft is called Ramses, which stands for Rapid Apophis Mission for Space Safety. The goal is to closely investigate the asteroid. Ramses is scheduled to launch on April 28th and will rendezvous with Apophis on February 29, just 2 months before the asteroid's closest approach to Earth. In 2029, on April 13th, the inhabitants of Earth will have the rare opportunity to see Apophis with their own eyes. It will pass so close to our planet that it will be visible in the sky. While it won't be very bright, it will still be noticeable. In fact, the size of Apophis is similar to that of the International Space Station, which is a very bright object in Earth's sky because it orbits just a few hundred kilometers away. Apophis, however, will be much farther, about 30,000 kilometers away, but still close enough to be seen from Earth. On the evening of April 13, 2029, in the dark suburban sky, you'll have the rarest chance to see an asteroid with your own eyes. How rare is this opportunity? It happens once every several millennia, roughly every 10,000 years. So don't miss it. Find a spot with clear skies, and you'll be able to see Apophis for the first time, perhaps even better with binoculars or a small telescope.